Merlin Sports.
Welcome, everyone. This is Phenomena of Merlin Sports. Joining me tonight to break down the upcoming conference championships in the NFL is Ddawg. Ddawg, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing good. I'm hoping for some more exciting football, like the weekend games. With the exception of I would say the 49ers game. I mean, the other games were pretty solid, really exciting.
Yeah,
especially the Broncos and the Broncos and Bills and the Chicago and the Rams those are two awesome games.
Well, we had 2 out of the 4 games going to overtime, which is almost unheard of in the divisional round. Which brings us to the conference championships. So we're down to the final 4. Let's start with the AFC. That's actually the first game, which will happen at 3 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. And this is the 1 seed against the 2 seed, which is New England Patriots going into Denver to face the Broncos. And I think we could cut right to the major storyline for this game. Is that it was revealed in the post-game press conference that Bo Nix has sustained a fractured ankle, I think, on the second last play of the game, and he's out. He's out for the rest of the playoffs, and that was a pretty shocking announcement because it just came out of nowhere. And I mean, you got to feel bad for the young man that he had an outstanding game. I think he showed remarkable touch on the ball, and he's out. So Broncos will turn to their backup quarterback, who no one else even attempted a throw this year for Denver except Bo Nix. The backup quarterback gets the call, and Jarrett Stidham for the Broncos, and right away that they've got to be seen as the underdogs for this, even though they're at home. So the line reflects it. They would have opened as a favorite, but the Patriots opened as a 4.5 point favorite in Denver. And so let's break down this game. You basically got 1 versus 2. I think Denver, is still very much in this game because of their defense. Their defense is elite. Buffalo was able to put some points on them. Denver showed remarkable poise on offense to move the ball and put up points. And I mean, this is going to be an uphill battle for Denver. I think it's safe to say that the backup quarterback is inexperienced at best, and even though Denver's defense is amazing, they still this is going to be a difficult game for Denver. Things Denver has going for it are they're at home, so they'll have the home field. Yeah, they're playing at altitude. They had the bye week, so they have an extra week of rest. So, theoretically, they should have more in the tank. And that defense is just really good. And they also bring they'll be able to pressure the quarterback, and they also bring one of the best secondary into this game, and led by Patrick Surtain. New England played well. It's safe to say that. I mean, it was just an atrocious offensive performance by Houston. CJ Stroud just did not look good. We have to give New England's defense credit. They've been pretty steady, pretty solid. They put in a good performance, but I mean, there's times where CJ Stroud just underthrowing receivers, inaccurate on plays where he didn't have pressure to throw the ball. It was just I don't know if that was the fact of New England's defense playing really, really well, or Houston, their inability on offense. I almost thought when I was watching that game, at halftime, I might have started the second half with Davis Mills at quarterback. Like, that's how bad it was. It looked for Houston on offense, and they stuck with C.J. Stroud, but it just goes to show you, like, if you had a better quarterback performance from Houston, I mean, that's a Super Bowl team, right? Like, that's a Super Bowl caliber team with that defense. But credit to the Patriots for pulling it out. They did just enough to win. Their defense was good. In this matchup, will we see Drake Maye step up and play? Or will he kind of look, more average looking like he has in this playoffs? I think we can agree, like, he didn't look as dominant and as polished as he looked in the regular season. And to New England's credit, they still pulled off two victories, and that's why you fight for home field advantage. I mean, being at home certainly helped New England in those two games. So I'm going to go out on a limb here for my prediction in this game. I think this game, Denver will try to keep this game low scoring and in the trenches. And by that, I mean, they will try to pressure the quarterback, put pressure on May on offense. I think they're going to keep things simple and try to run the ball, try to play ball control. That's why I think it'll kind of be on the low scoring side. And I am going to say that Denver is going to pull the upset in a remarkable game at home. I think with Sean Payton at coach, I think he finds a way to grind this game. If this game stays close in a grinded style, and it stays that way through four quarters, I think Denver's capable of pulling out the win. And I'm going to call them in an upset to get past the Patriots, just because the Patriots, although they look good on defense, they just haven't showed me enough on the offense. And I think now that they'll face one of the best defenses in the league, I think it's enough to stifle their offense. And I think Sean Payton will call a strategic game to go heavy on ball possession and try to pound the rock and be opportunistic when they do have to throw. I think for these factors, I'm going to call Denver with the upset victory at home against the Patriots to advance to the Super Bowl. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I remember hearing from you and seeing that title about Bo Nix going down and being out for the playoffs, and it's kind of tough that that happens, because he actually played a really solid game against Buffalo. I know there was a lot of controversy in that Buffalo game at the end, but at the end of the day, Denver forced 5 turnovers. And when you play football, if you turn the ball over 5 times, the fact that you haven't have a chance to win it is sort of miraculous. But credit Denver for forcing the turnovers. They got pressure on the quarterback, and I think that's going to be key for them this week. They're going to have to, if they're going to win this game, it's going to be a defensive struggle. They can't get into a shootout. They have a good enough defense to. I need to be able to pressure the quarterback a little bit. They got to be able to force some turnovers, have a couple short fields, because they're going to be able to drive the football down the field against Jarrett Stidham. One of the things I found surprising for New England against Houston is they were able to put up points. And C.J. Stroud looked bad. He hasn't looked right for a couple seasons now. And, I was thinking that maybe they'd be able to kind of have a good offensive game against New England. But New England's defense, I think, they felt slighted by the abuse of in terms of everybody saying how great Houston's defense was. New England didn't get enough credit. and so for them to win it, win it pretty convincingly, 28-16 looks nicer than the actual score was, because they were really in control for most of the game. So when it comes down to this game, it really hurts. And I think for Denver, it's not just Bo Nix getting injured. They lost 2 receivers last week, and both of them are questionable this week. And so their offense is going to struggle. They'll try to run the football. And New England struggled a bit this year against the run. So, they have a chance there. They'll have to run the football. They'll have to be a controlled game clock. But I just think unless they're going to get pressure and create some turnovers against Drake Maye, I just don't see how Denver can win that game. Right? I don't see them. I don't see how they can score 21 points. And a lot of the time this year for Denver, they came back in the second half. They were down a lot of games, and they rose to the occasion in the second half. Bo Nix would lead them back to win a game. Now they don't have that guy, and you're right, Jarrett Stidham. I mean, he's got some experience, but he hasn't played all season. All right, so to ask for a guy to come in the playoffs and be up to game speed and try to get a team to the Super Bowl is extremely difficult. So with that said, I'm leaning towards it, and I probably think New England wins this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think they'll win it like 20-7 or 20 or 10. Denver's gonna struggle to score, and I think New England can score enough points. So I have New England advancing to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, definitely. If Denver wins, it'd be considered a huge upset, because everything's aligning for New England to advance. I mean, you just don't see, losing your quarterback. You see it in other teams where, their backup, they have a veteran backup that's capable, who's been a starter with other teams, and maybe, he's turned into a backup in the tail end of their career. But this is unheard of, right? This is an untested second stringer getting the call in the conference championships. It's unprecedented almost, and yeah, definitely it would be a major upset. Now let's turn our attention to the NFC, which is the late game on Sunday, and that pits the Los Angeles Rams as the 5 seed visiting the number 1 seed, the Seattle Seahawks. That game will take place at 6:30 on Sunday, and these two teams had 2 very different games to get to this point. So just to refresh our viewers, the Rams won a nail-biter in overtime against the Bears, and Seattle thoroughly trounced San Fran, basically wire to wire, taking the opening kickoff for a touchdown and never looking back, and just throttling the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams are a 3-point favorite. So I'm going to let you start with this one and your breakdown and prediction.
Well, this is interesting. This is a really, really interesting game, because you got 2 teams. Both games they had this year were decided by 2 points or less, right? The Rams won earlier in Los Angeles 21-19, and then the Seahawks got the Rams. You could probably say the Rams kind of choked away the second game in Seattle, and they lost 38-37. Obviously, Seattle looked really impressive, blowing out San Francisco. How much of that was traveling? Was for San Francisco. They had to go on the East Coast to play Philadelphia, then go back west. They were quite injured, but Seattle's defense was just dominant. Like, they dominated the run game. Was dominant. Sam Darnold didn't really have a great game. Didn't have to do very much, because the defense and the running game was really carrying them. Now Seattle received some bad news. Zach Charbonnet's out for this game. One of their two-headed monsters at the running back position. Zach's a really good running back, probably a little bit underrated just based on his college career, but he was a very good running back. He's very explosive, along with Kenneth Walker III. So the question becomes, which Seattle team shows up? How good is their offense? I think they're going to have to score to stay in this game with the Rams. The Rams are a really good. They're a well-rounded team, but they haven't been playing their best. But they can get into a mucky game like they did against Chicago. They've pulled out both games at the end, first against Carolina and then against Chicago. And I think for me, the Rams all year have been the team that everybody looks and says, yeah, they can win the Super Bowl, right? They did it a few years ago. They rebuilt their defense. They still have a veteran, Hall of Fame quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Puka Nacua has emerged as a big-time receiver. They got two really good running backs in Williams and Corum. That's a pretty good double-headed monster. They still got Adams as well on the outside. They're a pretty well-rounded offensive team. I'm not so sure Seattle is. Seattle has some talent on offense, but again, Darnold has never been able to live up to the hype when it matters most, and I think that's going to be the challenge for him. Can he seize the moment? And for that, I kind of like the Rams to go into Seattle, upset the Seahawks, and when I consider it upset, but as the 1 seed, right? Versus what I think the Rams are like the fifth seed,
the
fifth seed, yeah. So as the 1 seed against the 5th seed, the Rams beating the Seahawks would be an upset that way. Although, it's not much of an upset as far as I can see because these are two evenly matched teams. They're very familiar with each other, and they're not. And the Rams don't have to travel. It's interesting for them. They don't have to travel East Coast to West Coast. They started in the East against Carolina. They went to the Midwest against Chicago, and now they're going to the West Coast. So that time zone change isn't as dramatic as what San Francisco had to do, going from Philadelphia to Seattle. So I like the Rams to pull out a victory. And I think it's gonna be pretty high scoring, even though both defenses are pretty solid. I think it'll be a fairly high scoring game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're calling the Rams in the upset.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, the way I see this game, first of all, the Rams going to play in Seattle after that game in Chicago, it's going to feel like they'd be playing in Hawaii, the Pro Bowl weather-wise, because that was extreme cold in Chicago, and the Rams acquitted themselves well in the cold weather, and we kind of saw that last year in Philly in a snowstorm. So I think that we even discussed it on our last preview show, the narrative of the Rams not being able to play in cold weather. I think that was just overplayed by the narrative against the Rams. The thing about Seattle is that can't be understated is that is one of the loudest stadiums in the league, and the 12th man is real. Like, that is a difficult environment to play in, and it's going to be bumping on Sunday how loud that's going to be. So while they lack a weather advantage, like some of those cold weather games, they have an advantage with the crowd noise and the level of the crowd noise. Luckily for the Ram, they're a veteran-laden team. Starts from the quarterback and even the coach. Like, they've been there before, and so that's not going to phase them, the crowd noise, no matter how much of an advantage that is for Seattle. I think this is going to be a great game. I think this game between the two conference championships, this game is going to be a better game entertainment-wise to watch, right? Because you're going to have two teams just going at it. Yeah, I think we will see a lot of points. Seattle, just dominating 49ers last week. And, it just showed you like how good the Seattle defense is. And like you said, the game, Sam Darnold didn't have to go out and win that game. He could just kind of cruise. And when he's put in that position, he doesn't have to take great risks, and they kind of minimize his character flaws at quarterback. And we all know that, sometimes he has a habit to turn over the ball in pressure situations, and getting out to a lead like that, that kind of brings out the better side of Sam Darnold. In this game, I like the Rams in this game as well, and I just think, their veteran leadership, and let's face it, like, they got talent on both sides of the ball, and particularly on offense, right? You got a two-headed monster at wide receiver, Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, right? And then you have a great running game. You have a great veteran quarterback. There is a slight concern with Stafford in that, he didn't look great against the Bears, right? He did just enough to win. And you got to think the week before, when he was throwing a pass, his finger clashed against the defender's helmet. I think it was on Carolina. And it looked like it kind of looked like it affected his accuracy on the ball. And we didn't see like the best of Matthew Stafford last week against Chicago. So that is an area of concern if that is affected his accuracy, because this Seattle defense is for real, and they're going to bring it. This is going to be an exciting matchup. I just don't think that they'll be, that they're going to be able to get off to that same start like they did against 49ers. So this game will be closer. It'll be more back and forth, which means that Sam Darnold, they'll have to rely on Sam Darnold a little bit more, especially as you mentioned, Zach Charbonnet out at running back. Although their Kenneth Walker is a great running back for Seattle. So the running back that they do have, and Seattle is pretty much stacked. So this is two heavyweights of the NFC West going at it, and they split the season series one game apiece. So this is the third time they're meeting each other. I would give the Rams the edge in the coaching advantage, just because you have a veteran coach who's won a Super Bowl before, and he really has good chemistry with his quarterback. He knows how to call. He knows how to call a good game. He knows him and his quarterback are on the same page, basically. And it is for these reasons that I like the Rams. I just think, for all those reasons I stated, and plus, I don't think we've seen the best version of the Rams in these two playoffs, right? They kind of had to come from behind and barely beat a very competitive Panthers team, neck and neck with the Bears. Although the Bears, it was miraculous that Caleb Williams was able to throw that game-tying touchdown, and I don't know what the defensive back was. He went forward. I don't know why he didn't stay with the wide receiver, and he would have been able to bat down the ball had he stayed with the receiver. So I like the Rams to outlast the Seahawks in a bit of a track meet here, in a totally different style of game from what we're going to see in the AFC Championship game. So I'm going to back the Rams to pull off the minor upset and advance to the Super Bowl over the Seattle Seahawks. So now that we've picked our our conference champions. Why don't we pick let's play it out and say who's going to win the Super Bowl. So you can start. You have New England playing the Rams. So why don't you tell us a bit about that and who comes out on top?
Yeah, I think this is a game of the sort of offensively a veteran laden offensive team versus an upstart team. New England is coming off a very rough season the year before. They've really come along faster than everybody anticipated. Drake Maye is taking some big leaps in his second year at quarterback. I think they brought him along well. Mike Vrabel is a very good coach. So, I mean, they have certain things going for them, but I think, if you said at the start of the season, the Los Angeles Rams would be the Super Bowl, people would have a hard time believing you that they're playing the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. I think the New England Patriots really surprised a lot of people. And I think it's a big jump for them to go from missing the playoffs to winning the Super Bowl. So, with that being said, I mean, the Rams are a couple years removed from winning a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford liked to taste it before. Sean McVay liked to taste it before. I mean, this might be Sean McVay's last hurrah. I mean, or the last time they were talking about him maybe stepping down and walking away from the game. But I would take the Rams to win that game. Right? If you asked me to pick it 10 times, I'd say the Rams win 9 out of 10 of those times. So I'd like the Rams as an early preview to win the Super Bowl over the New England Patriots.
Okay. So in my conference champion predictions, I had the Broncos upsetting the Patriots and the Rams beating the Seahawks. So Rams and Broncos. And for me, as much as I'm calling for the Broncos to have a miraculous upset game, I think it'll end there for the Broncos. That'll the having to do that a second time is just too big a hill to climb, and I see the Rams winning that matchup and securing the Super Bowl. Should that matchup come to reality, I think it'll just be too much. And especially, you'll have 2 weeks to prepare as well. You get an extra bye week, and that rest for a veteran team like the Rams will just, extra time. That will be a great coaching matchup, though, with Sean Payton against Sean McVay. But the Rams will end up winning the Super Bowl over the Broncos. So, wow, we're both back in the Rams. So. I mean, they fell off at the end for the run at the division title, but they remained one of the best, most consistent teams for almost the entire season. So it's not really a surprise that.
Yeah, I mean, we started off the season. I mean, for me, I was joking every week. You'd watch a team and you'd say, "Damn it, they're the best team in football," and then the next thing you know, they get blown out the next week. I think it was Green Bay to start the season. Like, you looked at them and you're like, wow, what a juggernaut. And the Rams were one of those teams that they looked and they just looked so dominant, and then they fell off for a bit, and then they came back. And I think by November, like around middle of November, they kind of knew where they were going to be, right? They knew that they were in a battle with Seattle and San Francisco, and I think they were comfortable. They didn't care where they played the games, so that they weren't like, we gotta have the home field advantage. I think they were trying to get to the finish line because they know what it takes to win a Super Bowl. So,
Okay, well, what a great season it's been, and no matter how it turns out, I think we can agree that it's been an amazing NFL season and so many storylines, and we look forward to seeing this championship weekend, conference championship weekend play out. So thanks, Ddawg, for joining us, and thanks to y'all out there for joining us, and we'll see you next with our Super Bowl preview show. Thanks, Ddawg.
Thank you, my pleasure. Take care.
Take care. Bye.